We settled the suit with no admission of guilt. It was very easy to do.
Fighting no matter what means never admitting you're wrong, regardless of the circumstances, never apologizing, never folding. It's something that all humans do. They evade responsibility, but Trump has kind of made a brand out of it. It's a pattern that we'll see over and over. But anyway, a bigger point I want to make here is that this whole lawsuit really turned Donald Trump off of his dad's business. He didn't like this whole renting to middle and lower income tenants. It was causing too much trouble for him. Remember, he grew up in a rich New York City family with a reputation and connections. He had a taste for prestige and luxury and wealth and attention, and none of that was out here in Queens. So in his early 30s, he starts to turn his attention across the river toward Manhattan, the epicenter of wealth, prestige, excess, and attention, the high life of New York City. And it wouldn't be long before he was at the top of it all. And this is where we need to take a slight diversion, and for that, I'm going to sit over here. You've heard me talk about NordVPN. I'm a big fan. When I'm on the road, I have become so grateful that I have access to this tool. I connect to NordVPN with one little press of a button, and it connects me to the internet via the United States. So I can access all of my accounts, so I can watch all of my stuff, even if I'm far away. It's not just a way to connect via another country. It's also an entire suite of tools that allow you to be more safe and secure on the internet. We live in a world where there are scams and phishing and malicious links and annoying ads all over the place when we're online. When you're connected to Nord, you are kind of blanket protected from all of this stuff. Nord has also expanded to new products like NordPass, which is a password manager. If you're not using a password manager, you really should be, because it allows you to have really complicated passwords, but only have to memorize one password to store all of your passwords. What I've started doing recently is using NordVPN to connect to a different country's internet and then search for like flights or hotels or anything that I think is probably more expensive because people think that I'm in the United States, which I am. But if I connect via a different country, I get access to a different version of the internet, including different shows that aren't available in my country. And none of this compromises on speed. Luckily, you could get a massive discount if you use my link. It's nordvpn.com/Johnny Harris. When you click the link, you support this channel, but it also gets you in on 4 extra months of NordVPN when you sign up for the 2-year plan. Oh, and if you sign up and you decide that this is not a good fit or you don't need it or whatever, you can get all your money back within 30 days. Sign up, risk-free, try it out, see if it adds to your life. Yeah, thank you NordVPN for sponsoring today's video. Okay, let's get back to Donald Trump's story.
I've never seen anything to the extent that I have in New York. It now, from a real estate standpoint, has probably become the hottest city in the world. People are flocking here by droves.
Well, they weren't flocking here by droves right away. In fact, when Trump moved to Manhattan, Manhattan was kind of a city in decline. It was full of empty, crumbling buildings, kind of like a faded memory of its glory days. But Trump came in with a huge vision, a huge enthusiasm to resurrect the city at a time when most investors were pretty sheepish about putting their money in this crumbling city. Check out this New York Times feature on Donald Trump around this time. Tall, lean, blonde with dazzling white teeth, a glib, non-stop talker who believes that, quote, New York is either going to get much better or much worse. And he's predicting that it's going to get, quote, much better. It was a pretty good prediction. Over the next decade, Trump used his father's company connections, money, reputation to buy old decaying buildings and give them glitzy renovations.
And we purchased the old Commodore Hotel, and we've reconverted that now into about $110 million Grand Hyatt Hotel.
This includes the purchase of this old department store on Fifth Avenue, atop which he built his signature project, Trump Tower, a 68-story building in Midtown Manhattan. Or was it 58 floors? Trump sort of has a habit of like exaggerating the number of floors in his buildings. Anyway, the point is, the city kind of loved it. It was a welcome renovation, a unique style of a building, but no one loved it more than Donald Trump himself because he was winning. In a very short time, he had broken away from his life and business in Queens and built a temple unto himself, a physical expression of his love for opulence and status and exclusivity and attention.
Trump Tower, a creation which holds a shopping area where if you have to ask the prices, you don't belong there.
Marble, gold, columns, waterfalls, mahogany woodwork, chandeliers, and for Trump and his family, A massive 3-story penthouse that looks like a European palace had a baby with Las Vegas. But remember, winning is not all that matters to Trump. Next, he needed to make everyone know about it. And he needed to control the narrative. The story couldn't be that he had grown up with a rich dad who gave him money and reputation and connections to make a lot of this happen, or that a lot of these deals were made with a combination of tax exemptions, with some fairly shady financial sleight of hand, and at times full-on lies to banks in order to secure funding. That's something we understand now because court rulings have come out to prove how shady a lot of this was. But no. At the time, the story needed to be that he was this smart, hardworking guy. And honestly, there's no doubt about that. But this is where Donald Trump's master storytelling comes into play, showing his ability to subvert the law while crafting a story about his success that people would just eat up. And a big part of that storytelling is reflective of another one of his core beliefs, that people want to be sold a fantasy. I mean, and I'm not speculating on this. In his book, he says that, quote, "I play to people's fantasies. People may not always think big themselves, but they can still get very excited by those who do. That's why little hyperbole never hurts. People want to believe that something is the biggest and the greatest and the most spectacular." This is truly one of the most important things on this list, because I think he's right. I think people do like to be sold a fantasy.
I like it.
You do?
Man's got it made, got everything.
He started crafting this big fantasy image of this rich, no BS talker. He became good at getting in front of the camera, telling the story that you want to hear.
I'm a rather, and you will be surprised, but I can be a rather humble person if I want to be. I like to be non-controversial. Have you folks noticed that?
By the mid-1980s, Trump's tower and big personality had made him famous, giving him the platform to keep selling his fantasy persona as a rich party animal, always surrounded by women and famous people. And there was perhaps nowhere that helped elevate this image and storytelling more than the New York City tabloids.
I mean, 22 days in a row or something on the cover of the tabloids. It's never been anything like that.
Trump appeared on the front page of the New York tabloids 87 times in the course of 15 years. And this was not by accident, it was by design. This was a part of his strategy. He learned how to hack the media really early on. This idea that no matter how much bad press you get for shady business like racial discrimination, bribing people that have connections to the mob, allowing his casinos to be used as money laundering, all of this can be washed away if you distract people with a tantalizing, glamorous lifestyle. Sell them a fantasy, because that's what they want. Or better yet, in his own words in 1991 in an Esquire interview, quote, "You know, it really doesn't matter what they write, as long as you've got a young, beautiful piece of ass." This would prove to be true, and still is true. And the tabloids were his megaphone for this strategy.
The reputation of Donald Trump, the man who dates a different woman every year.
I want to talk a little bit more about the tabloids because I feel like this was like his boot camp for learning how to work human psychology and the media to get attention. He became an expert at getting people to pay attention to him for good and bad, and finding a way to get whatever he wanted to appear in print. Like, for example, when the tabloids were covering his struggling marriage with his first wife, Ivana Trump, who he later had 3 children with, he and Ivana faced off, trying to shape the tabloids' narrative by fostering relationships with different columnists and planting information.